dangled in the air. The rope was made of flax. The trial wasn't fair. He dangled in the air, beside the courthouse where the truth got mauled by facts. He dangled in the air. The rope was made of flax. Retrieval is an art. She saved the piece of rope that yanked his life apart. Retrieval is an art. The cure worked on the heart with flax and words and hope. Retrieval is an art. She saved the piece of rope. Old Franklin Lakes, New Jersey survived patchily amid strip malls, McMansions, municipal brickdom, all that lawn, shellacking what? Arrowheads, Dutch stuff, Riverstone pavings. The rare bearded man fixed clocks, barn air weighty with old pine. It black pepper pricked the nostrils. Antique clocks, the tocks and ticks, din of precision, of countervailing forces. Mom hunted grandfathers, their numeral faces. Dust motes and I drifted in sunbeams among timepieces. This was history. She found her first cousin Vincent in Roscommon, a feat because Granny had kept stum. Our cast-offs sailed to Currahard in cardboard, letters lobbed back in a hand that was nunnish. Loads of, please gods. Margaret, Carmel, Patricia, Maria, Bernadette, Geraldine, Kathleen. So we went. Sunday dinner in the front room. The girls twittered and pussyfooted at the Belique. They were let in maybe twice a year. Communions and Yanks. I got mashed potatoes, peas, a grilled lamb chop. They chimed, "It's good to have you home," which threw me for a loop. Ditto the old homestead, wrecked pile in a field Granny had loped out of to servitude in New York. Vincent scraped peas onto the blade of his knife with the tines of his fork. I watched that wobbly wall of pea roll down my relative's throat. Reverse emigration. When I boarded the plane, everyone looked like Uncle Tom. Ruddy. Some were empurpled. Gray hair or auburn in terrier thatches. Pale blue of eye, a smidgen of resignation. The tribe. I thought,
we are driving to the interior.
I thought, holy God, the airline upholstery was Kavanagh, Nigonal, and Heaney handwriting. I thought, holy shit, this is the maw, the maw. Memorandum in winter. Cutting the engine when meeting her on the Boreen. Me in my Volkswagen diesel, she with her push bike She, with her plaid shopping satchel that billows like a windsock. Memorandum of my smugness. A tangled extravagance of white thorn and briar rhymes with her face. An opened map to consult before engaging the gears.
Thanks for stopping and for the chat.
Then she's a dot in the rear view mirror. Developers. Greed got in the way. We built a fake estate.
Levinas said to see ourselves, we need each other.
Yet, doorbells, rows of them, glow in the night village. Strands of lit invitations no elbow has leaned into, both arms embracing messages. Unanswered, the doors are rotting from the bottom up. It's another perplexing pothole in our road, loves. Hardcore from the quarry might make it level. Hardcore and cunning speculation into matters concerning love and doubt, concerning want and plenty. Oh, the places where pavement runs out and ragwort springs up, where lindenwood ends but doesn't abut anywhere neatly. A petered out plot of tato tumbleweeds, bin bags, rebar, roof slates, drain grills, doodads, guttering, infill, gravel. A not as yet nice establishment, possessing potential where we have no authorized voice, but are oddly fitted out for the pain it takes to build bit by bit. When the last contractions brought us to the brink of our new predicament, we became developers. The Shannon, when it washes the shoreline in the wake of a cruiser, slurs exactly like the Polish language you hear in Lidl Friday evening, 7 p.m., payday. That's what Jerry says. The river surface offers space to the song. Hammer taps of Latvians and Poles nailing planks of a deck. The space between water and sky holding sound. It's underloved and an amphitheater. Latvians and Lithuanians are nailing planks of grooved decking. It'll be a nice feature of that Riverside property. Their tapping underscores the distance between this side and that. Winter gales have made swift work of the billboard proclaiming 42 luxury bungalows, only 2 remaining. Crumpled up on the roadside now, 2x4 legs akimbo. A circus horse curtsy or steeplechase mishap. nipple. Berserkly shaking birch leaves in summer gales, I thought. In Mulligan's stony batter, the fizz of unloosed banter I'd been figuring how to pack in my suitcase for Ypsilanti. The Keys Sunday morning. Pint of piss on the church steps, decocting all the talk and sex of a Saturday night. Would you kiss me in Irish? I pleaded on my knees, footsteps skittering near the cobblestone. And the cabbie said,
I had him in my taxi a couple of times. It's true what they say. He was a real gentleman.
I tell E, and her jade eyes wetten. It's been 2 years. We're trying. If it's a boy, we'll name him Seamus Maximus. On a hay bale in Monaghan, they had had the chat. Ireland rejects at the teat. Reject back, said the new writer. I wondered how you just knew to latch on after Nurse Now jiu-jitsu'd you into a onesie. You were delivered, doddered down to Manfred's in a rubberized snowsuit, and chucked stones at apples bobbing in the river for years. At sea level, Maeve's cairn appears as a nipple atop Knocknarea. I climbed up from a car park, looked hard at the old Stum stones, watched a white calf suckle a white cow smashed by sunlight, while high cumuli brindled Ben Bulbin like a cow. Kalina Moor is a sickle of strand and a light show, but I had to descend, rejoin my car, my Fiesta. My queen mother was fierce. She visits me in dreams. Gives all these excuses for having gone away. Gone to medical school, dental appointment. The road collapsed and sucked her car in it. Pitiful alibis. Wakings a plummet, a cleave. I continued to breathe, eat, do okay in school. Just didn't talk much. Joined a morose lineup of post-independence characters, starting with O'Casey's Juno, who are stripped of joie de vivre, of the Empire entertainer Molly in Ulysses with her gob full of cake and a bosom of knee-trembling yeses up against any firm wall. Discuss. Thou, O Lord, will open my lips. On the phone to Ypsilanti, there were these pauses. Clippedness. I heard myself ending sentences with so, but nothing sprang back. Only a transatlantic trunkline silence pooling in my ear like mercury from a busted thermometer. God moves in mysterious ways, said Brendan, as the vinyl text for God, Je, peeled off the lime plaster wall one summer there was actual heat. Deep sworn. Others because you did not keep. Paltry years of gleaning in the fields of others' mothers ceased when your field fell to me. It was the feast of Thanksgiving. Dead is an old word with a face. Not passed away, not put to sleep, not. You kept out, kept away, kept from. I'd have curled up on your deathbed like a dog. We were that deep sworn. Yet always in the pantry of preserves, jam jars of jewel light keeping innermost, lemons, little necks, beetroot, quince, or when aproned, we open up the joy of cooking. Suddenly, I meet your face. Marum. Fierce, fierce Maeve, flinging rocks from Knocknarea. The Sligo suburbs strewn. We're from a long line of Queen Maeves, her graves above us. Pass by way of Barnaribin. Swim from Ireland proper, in salt and cold and bladderwrack. Overtake the purple man o' war, cycling his tangled, streaming body to Inishmurray, flaring in deep water like a coin. Such talky, sibilant surf. Relentless Morse code modem shriek, a skylark. Dry marum tips breezily clack, jumping flashes, natterjack toads, across a crosshatch of marum grass, red fescue and marsh helleborine, ceaseless infostream of Inishmurray. Echoes Orla's email, oh God, the sea. Marum, a word we love. Marum, Silver Point on Doon. In mid-and-rich Shelley Valley, we yell, Marum, ampersand, gossamer. Words are jellies, our mouths warm. Words are ice floes, melting steadily. We go out on them anyhow. Isn't weird a weird word when you really think about it? In high sun, Marum casts scythes, such cuts. You are falling, dune ladder, daughter, fringe sickle, snagging mascarade lashes. I adjust only mentally. Red dots droppered, black nail varnish, wings of moths we minute trapped last May on Inishmurray. Marum, sea mirror. Marum, grace grass. Marum, early word. Ever binding loose sands with tough rhizomes. Happy Valley. The brook is this mix of roar and hiss, as if God has managed to scalpel a section of tempest and clothespin it in the woods, over there, always draped in the trees. While we eat white summer peaches from celadon bowls, while the sun bleaches and blue jays score the maple, oak, birch, and apple-treed sky with their oblique Scriabine musics. 15 years since I have seen a real fall. Her deciduous burlesque, her glistering things falling on the old cider mill. A holy show. I hold both a wooden fragrance and a sodden mush of crushed, flowing apples in a cache and will never give it up. The cardinal is the best bird because it's a red mark on the blank snow amid the charcoal twombly of maple, oak, birch, and apple branches. Pines are green, far away, don't figure. My sister in spring is even prettier. Her smile, the genuine quality of it, undiminished in the many months since I have been in Happy Valley. It roars and is constantly in spate, spring being spring, plus my visiting. Work in progress. There was a kind of forever to the way we began, a forever built of blood and bone, of deep sound felt up from the bottom, sound not sensed by the ears, but that reverberates up the spine and the sternum, a forever of interior light, not retinal but spacious, tenebrous light, uninflected by time or day or circumstance. Bloodlight. The grass is green and growing in the cold. The geranium in the glazed blue flower pot is in vivid flower, cerise, precise in its high-vis luminosity, pressing color out into the cold. A ripple of muscle went round my world with a terrible strength. Everything began churning. Soft walls that had once held me began to pummel and ripple for what seemed like another forever. Then a sudden stillness when all movement halted. It was in that moment I sensed my mother's doubt. I was between new cousins on a strange sofa. These cousins chatted away, asked me questions and laughed and shushed the screeches of the younger ones, cousins whose cheeks colored easily in anger and embarrassment. My sweet little awkward expression, aged 8, is both astonished and arrived. If I could not yet raise my small face to the camera with the casual joy of my relations, at least I could look down and smile to myself. If I could not yet participate in all the fun, I could at least be seated on the sofa near to them, in their midst. The cold is weaving in and among all the growing, glazing, graying, gripping. The cold meets the wet in the air and flicks frost to ashen it all. My garden, the green place, I go out in it. Lying on her back in St. Joseph's Hospital, her heels pressed into the cold metal stirrups, my mother understood it was a person making its way through her body, a person who would arrive smack in the center of her burgeoning life. Another baby, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Sligo, the sea surrounding Coney Island. What do they call it? I call it the Sound. An open expanse of sometimes sea, sometimes ground, governed by the fleet tide that washes in and out, in a mathematical pattern I can follow in my guide to tides. As I stalled in the doorway of her loins, a deep freeze rippled through my mother's body. The brute need and gut determination of my urge to have a life was met with the cold current of my mother's fear. To move, to research in the heaves, in the freezing. When the tide rushes out and exposes the seabed, the terrain is never the same. Sometimes there's a bar of pure sand, flat and hard, where the water drains quickly and the sand is level as a putting green. This perfection of sand is islanded in an expanse and of runnels and rivulets, undulating ridges, just like the contour lines on a map, channeled by moving water that flashes if there is sun. In delivery room A, with the mint green midwife hovering to her left, and my unthinkably massive and bloodied head, the head of an oncoming person, boring its way from a nether place toward her, my mother reconsidered. A clammy, nauseating slackness overtook our body. At the top edge of her field of vision, a pulsing red blob came into brief focus. Exit. It's a field day of echoes and locutions out there in Coney Island. The doubleness of the name and the doubleness of the terrain that sheds its skin twice a day, becoming water, then land, and back again. In his close studies of poetry, Roman Jakobson honed in on the donkey work done by equivalences and differences in grammar and syntax, and how they function in our reading, hearing of poems. By focusing on parallelisms and similarities in pairs of lines, one is led to pay more attention to every similarity and every difference. Thousands of small piles of extrusions of wet sand dotting the view in all directions. The leavings of lugworms, digging in and waiting it out until the tidewater returns. It's time to push. The words came from the mint green blur. She strained dutifully. The air rushed from her lungs, but I remained stuck in the threshold, my quiggly nose mashed into the ridged wall of her vagina. She lay panting for a few minutes and screamed out from the pain of her split open body and our awful predicament. I swam in a glittering sea at Ross's Point, parallel to the shore as it curved beneath green, pleated Ben Bulben. The water was so clear and cold, but I remained warm. Cautious since I was alone, I came out after 20 minutes, but I could have stayed longer and not become hypothermic. It was glorious, goddamned beautiful, as my father would have pronounced it. I didn't know the word exit. I didn't know a single word. I didn't know what to know was, but I felt the power it held. I felt it course through my blood as it coursed through hers. I felt it as a coldness and a silence that was mingling in our blood. That coldness in the blood was a fact of us. It pooled in the corpuscles of the fat placenta that fed me and had been my bed and would soon be cut from me and tossed in a kidney dish. The whole sea floor was visible in the clarity of water that day. I saw mostly sand, a great deal of sand with a dark ribbon of seaweed here and there, sometimes a shell, luminous with caught sunlight. It's a watery desert out there, sunken. Land dwellers are oblivious to it. And when the forceps grabbed my skull to yank me out, when I gulped my first lungful of strange air, I looked into her strange face, and she looked into mine. We beheld each other. I felt strong and wild and screamed a strong and wild scream. She held my quaking, wailing body covered in sticky blood and my dark hair matted with green baby shit. The exterior I had become so violently aware of. My skin, this new suit that ached. It's a bit of a game for me now when driving out the Strand Hill Road, rounding the bend, after which the view opens up and Coney Island comes into full view. Will it be water? Will it be sand? Will it be a bit of both? The vagaries of this particular ground upend what is quite possibly my exaggerated sense of the fixedness of certain territories, certain parishes. Perhaps even my exaggerated sense of a person's relationship to her parish. I held the map shape of my hand to my face, and through the web of my fingers, I saw her face looking through at me. And I buried my head in her breast, pressed my nose into her hot flesh, and my mouth found the nub of her nipple. I sucked with fury. The warm fluid of the blue milk sprayed into the back of my throat, and I choked and coughed. Then I swallowed and sucked harder.